I remember when my doctor called me, the gastroenterologist who I had seen, who was very concerned as I was describing what was going on with me, which I thought was, probably an ulcer, and this was all very annoying, and I didn't want to be having this additional doctor's appointment. And her office went into, a flurry of activity, and I had a CAT scan, and she called me on December 19th, which I remember very well for many reasons, not the least of which being that is the date of my parents' anniversary. I remember exactly where I was standing. I remember thinking I was having all this work done in my house, and so I had workmen all over the place, and she said, I wouldn't normally give you this information over the phone. I was thinking, oh, how sweet of her to call. She doesn't want me to worry over the weekend, that everything is fine. And she said, there's a mass on your pancreas. And at that moment, life as I knew it ended, and a new life began exactly at that moment. And my family are doctors, and I always, whenever I would have any kind of test, and I'm talking like a blood test, I had never been in the hospital for anything, the results were always sent to my family. So I called them up, and it was like a bad sitcom or a bad episodic television show. I couldn't even get the words out. And my aunt and uncle, who are very close in age to me, my aunt was saying, what? And I couldn't get the words out. And I said, finally, I have pancreatic cancer. And so clueless, even though my mother had pancreatic cancer 20 years prior and died within a few months. I said, I think I'm going to be having surgery because Dr. Mardiak, who had diagnosed me, just said, I'm going to take care of this. This is who you're going to see. This is what you're going to do. And I'm setting everything up, and I'll let you know what the arrangements are. And I said, if it's anything other than an outpatient procedure, could you come down and be with me? Like, I had no idea what was ahead of me. And I have to say, for me, probably for all of you sitting out in the audience and really having spoken with some of you and heard a little bit about how you're dealing with your disease, I feel like something of an imposter because you guys are living with your illness so much more effectively than I was with mine, doing amazing things. I think it's so personal, it's so intimate, it's so isolating. You have to follow your instincts, whatever your instinct is. And I immediately anthropomorphized my disease. I was, of course, absolutely terrified. I saw it as this enormous, looming bully. And I said to it, I am terrified. I am absolutely terrified. And I respect how powerful you are. And I don't know what's going to happen. But one thing I can tell you is I'm not in league with you. And I saw it get so angry with me. Nobody talks to me like that, And I said, I'm not keeping your secret. I'm not in league with you. I'm fighting you every step of the way. And I had always been an extremely detail-oriented, organized, thorough, almost, we could probably say retentive kind of person. I let go of all of the details. I've always been sort of very compartmentalized and private in a lot of ways. I told everybody what was going on. I just wasn't going to empower it in any way. And I found that my family and friends, one of whom is here with me today, my colleagues at work, my students, everybody was so amazingly strong and loving and supportive. And I have to say the women were particularly so. The men, other than those in my family who are doctors, were quite squeamish about many things, but the women were amazing. And as I proceeded with my chemo, and I surmised I was getting better, I wasn't getting a lot of information about that from my oncologist, but I was still here. I began to see my disease, faltering and staggering and getting very wasted and bent. And I said to it, I don't hate you. I don't hate you. I know you are only doing what you know how to do. But this is a life and death situation. You're not going to live in my body. You cannot live in my body. And you're going to have to go. And that was really the way I approached my illness. I embraced everything in my life. It is something that I have continued to do since I don't know what we can call it, since we determined I was cancer-free, which was actually a result of my having a series of brain seizures during chemo. I say all the time to Dr. Hines, who I see once a year, and I love seeing him, and I know for those of you who are the caregivers and the physicians, I know you care about your patients, but we as your patients adore you. And, I've said to him many times, I really feel like this was a gift. And it's not a gift, not just a gift because I am surviving. It was a gift during the process. And I'm not by any means saying it was an easy process. The chemo was absolutely hideous for me. I have a lot of difficulty tolerating any medication, as Dr. Hines knows. It was my biggest concern when I was having the surgery was I going to come out of the anesthesia? I'm so bad with medicine. And he was wonderful at reassuring me and not pointing out that wasn't our biggest concern right now. And I just have to say that I have every intention of living well into my 90s, healthy, of sound mind and body, able to care for myself. But should that not be the case, I feel incredibly grateful for every day that I have and have had, and that includes the days I had dealing with my disease. So I guess that's really basically it. It's changed my life, and it's been a tremendous gift. Yes, it was December 19th, 2008. My surgery was January 2nd, 2009. And my last chemotherapy treatment, which resulted in my being rushed to the hospital. And the only part of it I remember is that the paramedics were so incredibly handsome. That's really all I remember. In fact, when I woke up, Ellen said, "Do you remember those paramedics?" Was May of 2010. So it's been since, it was May of 2010 when I had my last chemotherapy.
So you're coming up on 7 years, yes?
Correct, yes.
Yeah. I want to be that girl.
That's what I want to be when I grow up.